Applause. Okay. 4 people. Thank you, though. That's good energy. Keep that up for the rest of the day. Right. Hi, guys. How are we all doing? Sorry, forgive me. My voice is starting to go, so I have to speak more from the diaphragm. How are we all doing? Are we well? You have microphones next to you, so you guys can grab them and speak into them.
Yeah, I'm well.
Oh, well, I think they're on.
Yeah. Testing. Oh.
Yeah, there we go. We're all on. So, guys, how are we all doing? Welcome. Enjoying MegaCon so far?
Yeah, it's good. I like the art selling moves. I love the prints and everything.
It's always fun, and everyone's always in such a high spirits when they come to these things. So obviously we're here to talk about cosplay and also things like moving from something being a hobby into something you can actually make into proper work, or whether it just be making content. So first of all, I think it's important that we let you guys introduce yourselves to the audience and the kind of stuff you do and maybe what platform you work on. So why don't we start down on your end?
Okay, I'm Anya. I'm a TikToker and I do cosplay content all the time. And I'm also a streamer on Twitch. I play a lot of variety games and everything. And yeah, I do cosplay from all types of genres and everything. So yeah.
Hello, I'm Rin or Rinkabel. My main platform is TikTok and I mostly do lip syncing and dance videos.
Hello, my name is T and I am mainly a cosplayer on TikTok, YouTube and Instagram, but I'm also an actor and I've just delved into singing as well.
So while we're down here with you, T, why don't we start with you? So what was the transition point between something that you were just doing because you like doing it, because you wanted to start doing costumes, to sort of doing it to the level that you do it now? What was the transition point?
It was just one day. I'd still say that it's difficult because I don't know whether this is full-time for me. It is full-time because social media is full-time. But I had a video and it did really, really well. And I started building up a platform from there and I realised that I could make this consistent and I could put out content more consistently and start to hear back from what people want to see from me. And that's what I did, and I guess I just, one day, I built up a big platform.
And was that quite a almost overnight process in some ways, with particularly viral costumes or videos or anything, or was it pretty slow and steady to where you are now?
Well, I've been doing this for 3 years, so I'd say it's actually gone pretty quick compared to some others, I suppose.
And do you find that this is the sort of thing that you could foreseeably do properly full-time? I know you said that social media is always full-time, but do you see it as something that you could conceivably do? So for instance, you make a lot of your stuff, right? So is that something that you could therefore use as the making of your own stuff, but then outsource your skills to other people and use all those skills to become full-time? Is that doable?
Yeah, in a way, it's difficult because I have other goals outside of this.
Right.
But also I'm integrating that into this. So in a way, yeah, it is full-time, and it is a full-time thing already.
Is pursuing
it's hard to explain.
No, I understand completely. But is that the sort of things like the music and the acting? Are they the things that you're trying to pursue outside of just cosplay?
Yeah, and I'm trying to use my cosplay to show off singing. Like, I like doing songs in character and acting like the character as well, because I think it just shows a lot of different aspects within cosplaying. And I think sometimes there does need to be variety.
I think you're right, it's a great conduit to utilise one of your other skills with another skill.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll come over and talk to you about the same thing for your TikToks and stuff. So would you say that you kind of do that more or less full time, or do you have to balance that with other work in real life, as it were?
Yes, so cosplaying and content creation is my full-time job now. I actually used to work part-time as a dishwasher at a restaurant, and then
I used to do that, really? So I understand your pain.
It's pain, okay. There was stuff piled up, and I thought, like, one day I was just like, I'm just going to take the leap of faith. I'm going to make cosplaying, I'm going to put effort into it, and here I am.
How long ago was that you made the transition?
So it was when I was about 16 or 17, kind of like nearing my 17th birthday, and now I'm 19, so about 2 years ago, 3 years ago now.
So in a post-pandemic world, so that's also quite a scary time to take that leap, but you felt confident that it was the time to try that.
Yeah, well, I've always been quite determined, and I've always loved dressing up. As a kid, when I went to like nursery, there was this like green princess dress, and I used to wear it all the time, and I was obsessed with it. So it's been something my whole life.
And how much work do you now have to put in because you're doing this full time? Is it all day, every day, even weekends, or do you try and be quite diligent with work-life balance?
Yeah, so I try and cosplay 2 or 3 times a week. I like to, do different cosplays, but sometimes I do recycle them and use old ones. But it is, well, I wouldn't say it's like super hard work, because at the end of the day, it's something that I enjoy. So I'm happy to get up in the morning, put on a cosplay, and spend like 4 hours like making TikToks, taking photos, and things like that. So I wouldn't say it's too hard, but I feel like things like comments and things, they can be a little bit tricky to deal with sometimes, especially on the mass amount that you get. It's hard to
How do you deal with that person?
Well, I used to just ignore any kind of hate comments, but I do have to make sure I go through them all and stuff to make sure that there's no one's like bullying anyone else in my comments and things like that. But it can take a toll sometimes, but overall I do think it's a lot of fun, and that overweighs the hate and stuff.
You're right, but that is something that people have to consider when it comes to doing content creation full time, is you do have to be quite thick-skinned.
Yeah.
Because the internet has a lot of very nasty people who are happy to say stuff that's really quite horrible, hidden behind complete anonymity. And so that can be, if you're not thick-skinned or not able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and ignore them, it can be so detrimental to your mental health. So it's good that you found your way to process that, because otherwise doing this full time would be very exhausting.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you managed to make a good full-time career out of it in the last 2 years. And you say, so you do cosplay 3 days a week, but do you do stuff in the days in between, like maybe catering videos?
Yeah, well there's things like editing videos, editing pictures, and then in the days between that, I'm usually just visiting family or looking after my cat. It's a very work-life balance, but I enjoy all of it, so I'm in a pretty positive space right now.
That's good, that is positive. I finally will come down to you and ask you about the same thing. When did you sort of transition from maybe having to balance a day job? Do you still have to balance a day job? Are you doing this full time? Talk to us a bit about what's happened with your life.
So I started doing cosplay stuff in 2020, so it was all in lockdown. So I was still in school because I'm 19, so I was the year of 2020 and the GCSEs and everything. So I was just doing cosplay in lockdown, and then I grew quite a bit, and then I started earning from cosplay in 2021, and then it just gradually got more and more and better and better, and I grew more. So yeah, it was pretty good. It was when I was 16, 17, so I've been doing it for a long time. I've actually never worked a part-time job or anything.
You don't know the horrors of hot wash.
No, I'm quite lucky to not have to have done that, but yeah, I do really appreciate how lucky I was to not have to have had a job like that, so it was good, yeah.
But also it's testament to the fact that you put the work in at a good age to do so.
Yeah.
And it's paid off because you can do it full time.
Because I also was cosplaying when I was still doing my A-levels, and I did 4 A-levels, so it was a very balance between I would cosplay on the weekend, and I'd do 3 on the weekend, and then I'd edit it all in the week, and then study all week, and then again cosplay. So yeah, it was difficult to balance, but it was definitely worth it. Yeah.
Was that last year you were in?
I think it was 2021 when I had my A-levels. No, 2022. Sorry, when I was doing my exams. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you've explained what it was like having to balance work and A-levels and what week looked like. What does a week of work for you look like now?
I'm actually quite a workaholic. I tend to be really hard on myself, and if I'm not working all the time, I get really anxious about it. I get annoyed at myself. But I stream as well, so I do a lot of editing my clips and my videos, and I make TikToks out of my clips and everything, and I'm trying to grow that space more. But I also spend most of my week doing a lot of photo shoots and then editing all of it and the videos for it. But it's definitely worth it, but I do work all the time. So it's nice to have conventions and stuff to have a reason to not have to be sat in my room working all the time.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. It does give you a good excuse to get out and see the world. Something that I didn't ask you is, what does a typical week for you with your work look like? So we asked these two how a week might be structured on content. How does that look for you?
Well, I'm balancing A-levels at the moment, so I understand it. I've got
Are you taking 4 A-levels?
I'm doing a performing arts course.
Oh gosh, that's a lot.
So I've got an A-level, my first A-level in 3 weeks, but it's quite easy for me because I enjoy the A level that I'm doing, and I also, I enjoy this to a certain extent. There is parts of it that are difficult, but a typical week: go to college, come home, edit, do work, making something, working on singing, working on songs now.
So will you be done with college by June, July sort of?
Yeah.
And that's you done, the final year of college?
Yeah, and then I move up to London for drama school, and it's all over
Have
again.
you already got to drama school?
Yeah.
Which drama school are you going to?
I'm going to Rosebery.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm doing the American Theatre Arts course for 3 years.
That's very exciting. And do you have any anxieties about balancing college with doing what you do now? Well, sorry, university with what you do now, or drama school?
Yeah, to a certain extent, because I see university as a lot more vital, and I want to properly put my full commitment into that. But I'm not too worried, because I know that the breaks that I get, I can just bulk load, make a bunch of content, and then I can release it whilst I'm doing the work, so I'm not too worried about it.
Also, there's a good chance that you might be able to utilise some of your cosplay as part of the course.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and I can work with other departments as well, so it's really nice.
Very exciting. Something I'd like to ask you guys is, what are some of the challenges that maybe people don't quite understand? Because I think a lot of people assume that TikToking or social media influencing, it's a lot of you just set up a ring light and a camera and you dance for a bit. It's hardly work, is it? So what do you think are some of the harder parts of being a content creator that people tend to not really think about or don't consider? Why don't we start with you?
I think people don't really realise how much editing goes into content. Like when I do a cosplay, like not that this is like, you don't have to do this much, but when I do a cosplay, I only do it once, unless it's like a few years later. So I tend to do like hundreds of photos, and then I have to go through those photos and choose the ones I like, and then edit them all, and then make the videos and everything, and the audios and everything. I feel people don't realise that sometimes it's not just popping up a phone and stuff. Like you gotta take multiple takes and everything, and it takes energy and like time, and if you're doing it wrong, it really puts you down, and it's like it's so stressful sometimes. But yeah, mainly the editing, and also just the emotional and kind of social toll. I think, especially for me, I take a lot of my personal time like just working, so it's hard to like balance social life with my own work life. So I tend not to be able to spend much time with friends, and it like dampens relationships and stuff. So I think people should like be more considerate of creators when it comes to that type of stuff, because it's like it's not always that easy as you think it may be. But yeah.
You're right, it will have ways that it impacts your life. And you mentioned already you're a bit of a workaholic.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's hard for you to even want to take those breaks and spend it.
Yeah, I really struggle to like give myself, like I literally use conventions as an excuse to like spend time like relaxing, you know, and spending time with friends.
But also mentally justify it as kind of work.
Yeah, like, yeah, I'm here as a creator, it's work.
Yeah, it's like social work.
Yeah,
which actually, for someone who's a self-described workaholic, sounds like a perfect place to be.
Yeah, literally.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And what about yourself? What would you say is something that maybe people don't consider about what it's like to be a content creator full time?
So back to there we go. Sorry, it wasn't working. So back to kind of the mental toll, I guess it can take, is I feel like when you're going back editing pictures and things, and people will point out like insecurities that you didn't know you had. Because I feel like when you're looking at videos of yourself and pictures of yourself every day, you'll start to like overanalyze things like your cosplays, like you're like, oh, I did this wrong, or my makeup looks bad, or my nose looks big, or something like that. And it's just, you tend to pick at things a lot more, and you realize them in real life, whereas a person that doesn't take so many pictures or videos every day, they probably wouldn't notice them, and it's not a big deal. But I feel like when you're looking at yourself constantly, it's really, really easy to just pick yourself apart.
I agree with you. As someone who's also had to edit a lot of my own voice and face on videos,
Yeah.
you go through, but I'd say there's almost I almost want to say bell curve, that you start not really caring, then you become hyper analytical,
Yeah.
and then you sort of come out the other end and stop caring again. And sometimes that process might repeat,
Yeah.
and you might keep going up and down. But you're right, that's something that people really don't consider, that it changes your own self-image,
Yeah.
maybe even your self-worth. I mean, how do you go about combating that when you maybe feel self-conscious about how you look or how you do the cosplay?
Well, you've got to realise that beauty is subjective. Everyone has their own type, and what you might find unattractive, someone might find really attractive or something like that. Or if you feel like you don't like your cosplay, but you know your video still gets likes, it gets views, and like you've got people supporting you in the comments, you begin to realise that you're just overthinking it because people love it. You know, they're commenting on it, and I feel like it helps a lot, especially if you more inspire other people to cosplay as well. Like I've had people come up to me and they've been like, I love your cosplay and I want to get into it, do you have any tips? I'm like, that makes me so happy because it's like, while I'm over here thinking, oh, I hate my cosplay, it looks so bad, some other person is like, wow, she looks great and I want to cosplay now.
They value your opinion.
Yes.
It's nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
There's a lot to talk about here because you guys have really already brought up some great points and things that people don't consider. Lastly, too, we'll come over to you. What are some sides of this that maybe people don't consider when being very content creator?
Just before I say that, I get that with the whole inspiration thing. It really does mean something to you, but I'd say it's more the vulnerability. People don't realise you are putting yourself out there. Like, but not only that, it is full time, and it is literally constantly you're managing comments and managing messages, managing emails, and literally managing everything. 3 accounts, multiple accounts, however many you've got. And it becomes draining to a certain extent, and sometimes you do get burnt out because it's the same thing over and over again in a little bit of an aspect. But also, people don't realise that I'm one person. I'm like one individual. I don't have a whole massive team behind me that's editing my videos and managing me or making my costumes for me. I do everything myself practically, and I have the help from my family, which is great. But yeah, it becomes draining.
You're right, people do forget that you're a one-person army.
Yeah, and sometimes they expect so much more, and I want to give that to them, but it's just, you have to kind of take a step back sometimes and take time for yourself in a way.
I was listening to everything you were saying there, but I also noticed that you are wearing the same colour as the soap.
Yeah, I know, and
so you started to blend into it for me. I know you were just floating hands in a face for me for a second. But you are right, all of these are very, very good points, and we only have time for one more very super quick question each. So I'd like to just if you could have a quick bite-sized soundbite for people to take away from this panel today, what would you like people to remember? It could be from any of you. I'll ask all of you for something super quick and soundbitey, like, remember, creators are people too.
I was just about to say that.
Well, there we go, see? I actually think that's one of the biggest takeaways.
Yeah, and also just, sometimes we want to deliver your expectations, but it can be difficult. And sometimes those expectations are bloody out of our reach. Like, out of our reach sometimes. So sometimes it's just appreciate the content that's being provided, and maybe suggest. I love getting suggestions and things.
Or be polite about it.
Yes, it'll be polite. Yeah.
Very positive. What about you? A quick soundbite for people to take away.
Quick soundbite, right. So what I would say is, everyone's a weirdo in some way, so if you have a hobby or something that you think is a bit weird, just do it anyway, no one cares. Just have fun and be yourself, as cringy as that sounds.
That's positive, I like that. I think that's a good thing to remember. And finally, over to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say a similar thing, like what makes you you is what makes you unique. Like I get a lot of hate for my voice a lot of the time, but you know, some people love it, some people are gonna hate it, but it makes me me, and you know, everything. So yeah, just be yourself.
Well guys, this has been so wonderful to talk to you guys. Guys, give it up for your amazing panelists talking to us about transitioning from full-time or work part-time to full-time.
Thank you for having us.
Guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the remaining Halloween.